So today we're going to look at a couple of new things, but more review as well. So first, for the argument paper, just reminders. I want to keep pushing this. It needs to start from a news video. It needs to be based on one of the countries on our list. It can change somewhat as you research, so you go where the research leads you. Um, it must be arguable. There must be at least two clear sides. If it's not clear, then it's not an argument. It needs to be at least two clear sides. It could be many different sides. And important key, it needs to be something that a reasonable person could disagree with. So saying human trafficking needs to be stopped, no reasonable person could disagree with that. Or rape needs to be stopped, no reasonable person can disagree with that. Now, if you say rape needs to be stopped through education programs, helping men and boys learn about, whatever, um, that's something a reasonable person could disagree with, right? They could say, no, it'd be better to be stopped in this other way, right? So make sure you have something that a reasonable person could disagree with. Also remember to avoid history. Focus on the relative present, the last 10 to 15 years, because our papers are short. So I'm asking you to avoid history. Now I want to go to page 38. Next week you'll have an outline due. And this one you'll first notice it is much simpler. Argument format is kind of a simpler format in most ways than compare and contrast, so you should have no problem doing this. So you should have a tentative thesis or a research question that can change as you start researching more and drafting more, but you need something that guides your research by next week. Okay. Then you need what's called 3 supporting statements. 3 statements that support that thesis in some way. Okay, so if you have a court case and your thesis is this guy is guilty, right? Your 3 supporting statements can be general statements, usually not facts that need to be cited, but something like, we will prove through witness testimony that such and such is guilty. We will prove with an abundance of physical evidence that this person is guilty. We will prove with abundance of video recordings that this person is guilty, and so on. Those statements support the thesis and they don't need to be cited. Okay, so you need to create 3 of those statements. Under each statement, you need at least 2 pieces of evidence, right? If I just go in front of the court and throw down a bloody knife, right, I'm probably not going to convict with 1 piece of evidence that I don't even explain, right? Where if I have the bloody knife in a video, that is much stronger, right? If I have bloody knife, a video, and a witness, that's even stronger. So one thing you'll notice is, because this is a 5-page essay, you might need more than 2 pieces of evidence. The minimum is for each supporting statement you need 2 pieces of evidence, but it could be up to 3 or 4, right? That could strengthen your argument and get you to that 5 pages you need, right? So if you have any questions, like the other one, I expect about half to 2/3 of this to be filled out really well and specific. Probably, closer to that 2/3. The other third can be kind of educated guesses based on what you've researched so far. Okay, so I want to go do some review here. Let me see. I have page 17. We're going to look back a little bit here. Oh, overshot it. Okay, page 17. We have our MLA citation, right? So while you're taking notes, it's always good to put it right into quotes and citations as you go. So just a reminder, we'll go over this more in next week's video as you're closer to the drafting stage, but your citation rules are on page 17. We're going to review a little bit about plagiarism. And if you want to know where that is in our handout packet, it's page 19. Okay, some really quick review of plagiarism and how to paraphrase and avoid it. So remember, plagiarism can be on purpose or accidental. Either way, your paper is wrecked, right? So either way, it gets a 0, whether you went and bought a paper or you accidentally plagiarized. Either way, it becomes a problem. Okay, so this first section, we see a paragraph there, and then we see a paraphrase of that paragraph, and the red are the words that were chosen. Okay, that would be considered plagiarism. It's taking the author's ideas, only changing a couple of words here or there. If you're paraphrasing, you need to have the entire thing be in your own words. Otherwise, you need to use quotes for specific language. The other problem is it's also not cited. It would need to be cited as well. So the writers failed to cite and only changed a few words. Where this one is more acceptable. The reason is it's in the person's own words. There's no unique phrasing that's taken from here. And it has a citation on each sentence from the source. Don't forget as you're writing your paper, cite every sentence that has a fact, every sentence that comes from a source. If you have facts that aren't cited, it's considered plagiarism. So I always recommend oversight. You're better off adding too many citations and just losing a few points for citing incorrectly than not citing enough and getting a 0, right? So be careful with that. But this accurately relays the information and lets the reader know the source of information through citation. Here's another example. We have, it's paraphrased in their own words without unique phrasing, but then they wanted some unique phrasing from here, so they put it in quotation marks. Okay, they put the citation there. They took some more unique phrasing in quotation marks and put the citation there. Okay, so make sure any unique phrasing is in quotation marks. So it records the information accurately, gives credit through citations, and indicates which part is directly from source with quotes. Okay, so, and what I always recommend for paraphrasing is read the document, put it away or minimize it, write it in your own words, then bring it back up and make sure you're not using any unique phrasing. People often be like, oh, I put it in my own words, and they never checked, because sometimes our brain will key in on a couple of words from that reading and forget, that it came from there. So always double check with your source, okay? And common knowledge, if 25% of your classmates know it and it is correct information, you can use common knowledge, but it doesn't replace academic sources. You can use common knowledge with sources. You can't use it in place of sources. Okay. So if you have any questions, if you're unsure, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. And that's probably all on plagiarism here. Let's see if it'll let me X out. There we go. A reminder, and it's also on page 19 of the handout packet, as I said before. Reminder, as you're taking notes, I recommend immediately that you use the citation generator on the databases. Put the citation right there, and then as you're taking notes, have the page number there as well, and put it right in quotes immediately from where you took it from. Okay, so you get the citation from the generator, and when you're doing that, don't forget to look for DOIs, and you could add date of access right away so you don't forget later. Just try to make sure the journal's in italics, that it has a volume and issue number, stuff like that. But always have the page number. Make sure it comes from the actual page, not the PDF, that you're looking on the actual page itself. You could always check sometimes in the citation. See, the page range is right in the citation. So if this said 2, I'd be like, oh, that's obviously not correct. It must be 460, the second page in that grouping, right? Okay, so that's how you do your note sheet. Let me see, I want to keep this short, but let me make sure I hit on everything I want to. I have one more page listed on my sheet here. Let's see. Oh, okay, just don't forget, as you're reading the databases, start early. This is a very hard assignment to start late on because if you have a problem, the librarian or me might not be available on really short notice. Seek help, reach out to me or the librarian. Understand that you will not understand everything in the academic articles. They're built for an academic audience, not for a general audience. And so just skip over what you don't understand or look up in the dictionary what it means or Google it. Use abstracts and keywords. So read the abstracts and keep writing down keywords that'll help you adjust your search as you go. Don't over research. You'll need, for this paper, I would guess about 12 to 15 good facts. Somewhere in that range would be good for a 5-page paper. Might be slightly more than that, but in that range. You could also, don't forget, when you're reading an article, you could go down and look at the reference page. And sometimes some of their references might be useful for you, and then you could go search that reference, right, or that works cited page. Okay, I think there's one other thing I wanted to hit on here because I'm trying to keep these videos short. And if you are struggling in the writing process as you start writing in the coming week or two, use the Clarion University Writing Center. Just search for Writing Center, and they actually have online, you can schedule appointments. They have helpful handouts and resources, see about citing your sources, plagiarism, and you can, if you go to the online Writing Center, you can actually submit your work online and then talk to somebody about it. So it's super helpful. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thanks, guys.